Hi, everybody. Dan Illman and Mike Beer, the DRF race of the day for Thursday, October the 5th, race number 8 at the Belmont at the Big A meeting. We're going a one-turn mile. First level allowance, $50,000 claiming option for fillies and mares. Let's take a peek at this field. We got a coupled entry in here. The one is Fancy Azteca. The 1A is Good Penny. They're 6-1 on the morning line. Cupid's Heart, though, the number 6, is your morning line favorite, Mike. Very, very consistent. This horse has hit the board in her last 6.
Yeah, it kind of feels like, Dan, if she runs her best race here, this field might have a pretty tough time beating her. The distance, I think, is the real question for it. There's a real chance that she's just better sprinting, but if she can run her top race going a mile, she's a handful in here.
It's been a tale of 2 races for the number 1 Fancy Azteca. 2 starts back, an open length winner, Mike, by 5 lengths that day with a pretty big Beyer speed figure. A lot of expectations claimed out of that race by Rick Dutrow, but was vanned off. First off, the Dutrow claim comes back, no class drop, protected. You got to respect this barn.
Yeah, you do. I think it's a good sign that Dutrow brings her back in this race, Dan. Listen, who knows what happened last time? She stumbled at the start. She never looked comfortable, and Dylan Davis pulled her up really early in that race. Maybe it was just precautionary because it's not like she's missed a ton of time. I thought she was, I know it was a class drop 2 starts back. I thought she was really impressive winning that day. I'm a little disappointed that she's part of an entry in this race because it feels like that's just going to pull some money in her direction. If she was on her own in this race, she might be a big price, and I'd be using her.
Her entry mate, the 1A, Good Penny, is a 7-time winner. This one also was pretty well beaten last time out, eased at the $32,000 level going out of the chute at a mile, but might not have gotten the right trip that day. It was just kind of hung outside. The prior races were solid, and I respect Jose Camejo's work. I think he can move this one forward.
I agree with you. He has really good numbers off the claim too, particularly with dirt horses, Dan. So maybe he'll get this horse back on track. And if he does, it's pretty obvious just from looking at her on paper that she's got back races that would make her really tough in here.
The key to this race might be breaking from the inside post. That's the number 2, Pure Pauline. We have not seen her in about 11 months. She's returning with Lasix for the first time, and just look at the horses she was in against last time out in the Golden Rod. She was 4th that day. The Ashland winner, Defining Purpose, was in there, and Pretty Mischievous, who's now the divisional leader after winning 3 Grade 1 stakes races in 2023. It's Todd off the layoff. You usually don't worry.
Exactly. This horse just missed second in that Golden Rod last time. I mean, it's not like she ran a great race, but she didn't run a terrible race either. I really liked her maiden win, 2-back, the first time Todd stretched her out. I guess this layoff, maybe it's just long enough to make you, a little bit worried about her, because she's been away for a while. But as you've already mentioned, Pletcher, great numbers with horses like this. How about this for a stat, Dan? With 3-year-olds off of a layoff of 180 days or longer, non-maidens, routing on the dirty, 7 for his last 14. The ROI is almost $4. If she takes a step forward in here, this field might be in a little bit of trouble.
Ichiban is the number 3. Linda Rice is going to test this New York bred facing open foes for the first time since the career debut at the fairgrounds. On a 3-race win streak, here's the score last time out against fellow 3-year-old fillies in the Fleet Indian at 1 1/8. Only a 4-horse field. There was one no-show, as you see. But Ichiban says Matana at the 3/16 pole. Sugoi, Mike, she wins easy.
I appreciate that she's in really good form. Linda Rice really got this horse good up at Saratoga, which isn't a surprise. She was on a real run up there, and this is one of the horses that allowed her to get a share of that training title. She won 3 times up there. She could bring that form downstate. That I don't think you worry about her cutting back to the 1-turn mile here. She's one of the major players.
How big is the step up, though, New York breds against open company?
It can be tough. I think there are times when it's way tougher than this, Dan. I don't think she's found a particularly tough field here. I think she fits right in.
Toned Up is up next. That's the number 4. Third off the Rob Mattress claim. Ran well first time for Rob in a 62. Non-winners at 2 other than. Kind of a step up from what he couldn't be facing on Thursday. Just was no match for Just Catherine, who then came back and ran into some graded stakes horses at Park. So maybe he was overmatched last time out and might be coming into this race as a bit of a sleeper.
Yeah, she's another one of those horses who I think has a race that would give her a real chance in here. She's going to need a trip. It's not like she has a ton of speed. So we'll see if the trip really works out for her, Dan. I think she's a little underrated, but she's one of those horses where you just have to get a price on her if you're going to use her, because she's kind of attained a level, and that level might not be quite good enough.
Sweet Mystery, the number 5, like Ichiban, a New York bred, going to face Open Company off of a win. Sweet Mystery scoring in Saratoga. In a 1-mile race, the pace was very slow. They went 49-1. Trevor McCarthy made sure that Sweet Mystery was close to that tepid pace. And when it was time to go, she went, and she went at the right time because she's just going to hold sway.
Yeah, she's just going to hold on here. The cut back to the flat mile really helped her in here, Dan. And she did get a ride that was just about timed perfectly. Now, you might want to give her a little credit, though, because the horse that she's holding off there, the odds-on favorite, had 1 or 2 prior starts. She's come back and won again since then. That horse is in really good form, and Sweet Mystery did hold her off.
Cupid's Heart is the number 6, your morning line favorite. She won 3 of her first 4 starts, but all of those races came against fellow New York breds. She is 0 for 4 against Open Company, including being beaten as the odds-on favorite in 3 of those races, including her most recent start where she was 3rd behind Mongolian Panther. She's solid. I've been a little bit concerned that she hasn't broken very well in her last 2 races. That's worrying me.
I agree with that, Dan. That's been really an issue for her basically right from the start of her career. She's not a very good gate horse. She usually gives away some position early and then has to try to recover. And that might be one of the reasons why shorter distances are a little better for her. They've only tried to stretch her out once. They put her on the lead that day. I didn't think that pace was particularly fast, and she really didn't finish that well. I'm concerned about the distance with her, but if she gets the right trip and gets out of the gate in here, and if she can handle the mile, I think she's the horse to beat.
She has several numbers that would make her very, very tough. But we're going to watch her outfinished by the 7, Mongolian Panther, in their most recent start back at Saratoga, going 6.5 furlongs. Little prankster was able to get to the front. You see the gray, that's Cupid's Heart on the outside. She's just not doing it as the favorite. Mongolian Panther, to her credit, never quits. It looked like she's going to get beat too. She makes it real close at the wire.
I'm going to agree with that assessment of the performance from Mongolian Panther. You can see there, Dan, that Cupid's Heart's just not really finding at the end, jumps to a wrong lead and doesn't really make an impression. I guess Mongolian Panther ran fine in there. I'll give her credit for staying on to the end. She had a good trip in that race, though, and to me, it never really looked like she was going to win.
Linda Rice says Ichiban also has Portage. That's the number 8, and this horse is going to be stretching back out after a couple of sprints. Very lightly raced 4-year-old, coming off a rallying effort going 3/4 of a mile where she finished ahead of Mongolian Panther, and she's followed Mongolian Panther turning into the stretch. She's going to get to the outside. She's going to get up for second. Stretching back out to a mile, Mike, we might see a little more speed out of her.
Yeah, I think you'll see her closer to the pace this time. It was a little surprising, actually, that she was as far back early in this race as she was. She's just sort of going to grind here, Dan. The winner's much the best. She's not going to get anywhere near her, but outfinishes her rival to the inside there, Mongolian Panther, for second. She ran okay. She's very lightly raced for Linda Rice. I agree with you. I think she'll be closer to the pace this time. She's a contender.
The 4th place finisher from the race we just saw is back. That's the 9, Saforedada, who was down towards the inside with a 1-paced finish. Another horse that usually doesn't get away well. Very consistent, however, usually there around the board. If you want to use her at a price for Dutro, at least to maybe round out your single race exotics, go right ahead. She'll be worth it on the tote.
Yeah, I think you could sort of say the same thing about each of the 2 horses drawn to the outside. Are they really good enough to win this race? That might be questionable. Can you use them underneath? Absolutely. This horse didn't run that well last time, but was in the exacta in her prior 7 starts.
You're absolutely right about the 10, Mia Bia Star, 11 times second, 11 times third, only 5 wins from 50 lifetime starts, is at the board in her last 3. And last time out going a mile, that was the Sweet Mystery race where there wasn't a ton of pace on. She tried her best to finish 3rd. Maybe she'll get more to run out, and I don't mind her cutting back to a 1-turn mile.
Yeah, that really compromises her too, Dan. She needs pace in front of her in order to be most effective. She shows up every time. She is what she is. It's right there on paper. She always kind of runs the same race. And if there's pace in front of her, she will try to make an impact late.
Before we get to our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Top pick time for the Thursday race of the day. You're going with Pure Pauline. Why not? She showed good form at 2 against really good horses. You mentioned the Pletcher stat, and I think she's probably going to show fresh tactical speed.
Yeah, and more than anything else, I just kind of feel like she comes back in the right kind of spot. This, to me, is not a particularly strong field for the level. So if she can take a step forward, I think she fits right in here. I probably would have tried Fancy Azteca on top if she wasn't part of an entry, but she is, so I put her second.
I'm hoping Ichiban can live up to her name once again. It's not Saratoga, however. That's where she thrived over the summer, but it looks like she's got some tactical speed. A little concerned about her turning back to the mile. Maybe she's better at slightly longer. Needs something around 5-1 for Ichiban. 2164 for Mike. 3768 for me. It's your Thursday DRF race of the day. Belmont at the Big A. Best of luck.